Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on.
Welcome everyone to the Bring Me Life podcast. This is episode 162, and today we're talking about some good things because we've been doing, Shannon and I, she's here with me, and we've been doing some programs recently. Mine on abundance and hers on energy centers, right?
Mm-hmm. Energy centers, emotions. It used to be my chakra course, but it's a lot of emotional transmuting and releasing what no longer serves you.
Cool. And so we kind of wanted to share, what we've been learning. We've both been hosting and participating in programs, and also, we have some other topics as well. We'll get into those, but first, let's talk a little bit about some things that we've learned. What are some things that you've learned participating in hosting programs?
Well, with my alignment challenge, which is leading into my 8-week chakra course, is been just really powerful to see how many people are consistently kind of working through things, not only alone, but together. I mean, I figure that's what life is about, is working through things together, but seeing people show up in these different online communities, which we have a lot of podcasts where we talk about online communities and how important that has been, especially in 2020 with all the distancing. I've just learned that it's really important to kind of take that time and do that self-work. And I know that's kind of like a term that I feel like is becoming repetitive.
What, self-work?
Yeah, in the spiritual community, saying, make sure you do your self-work, make sure you get your self-love. And it's kind of like almost becoming comical, but it's also like so needed. And there's been so much like spiritual bypassing and finger pointing, and it's been a rough few weeks or months for everybody. So through my courses, and both experiencing and teaching them, I've learned just how important it is to hold space for people and hold space for yourself to change, because there's a lot of heavy energy going on. And I've really enjoyed your course with the True Abundance experience, because it's kind of given me a different perspective. You've been doing that with like a different partner with affirmations, and seeing that community show up and being a participant rather than a leader has been eye-opening as well. Yeah,
it's really cool to see people in the chat, just kind of doing the activities and sharing space with each other. And it's really cool because I try to make it a big strong point in all of my programs and classes and spaces that I hold, to have it more open-minded, open-hearted, where we all can just accept each other for who we are, because we're all different. We all have differing views and perspectives on life, and I don't think that's wrong. I think that is a part of life, but we just need to learn how to respect each other. And yeah, there are views that are filled with hate, and that's where those people are in their lives. But we can't fight hate with hate. We got to love ourselves and be a better example for our children, because that's what's really going to heal this world, is setting that example for the children, because they're the ones taking over after we're all gone. And what they're learning now is what's going to be happening in the world when our generation is gone.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's really important for everyone right now to really embrace who they are. And that's what I was trying to do with the alignment challenge, was give everybody the opportunity to really take a look at who they are and who they want to be and how they want to show up, and to just be proud of who they are, not just like one day or not just a month, but every day. That being said, we're also like ending out Pride Month, and there's just been so many people coming out with their truth and who they feel they are. And I think that that's really beautiful to see that empowerment. And I'm somebody who doesn't really believe in like labels and things like that, because I think in the end, we're all just really beautiful in just need to be witnessed as we wish to be. So like whatever people wish to be witnessed as, I just hope that it's love, something that they do in love, you know? So I'm proud of all these people coming out and for being you and for being whatever that most divine version of themselves is. And just like much love to all the rainbow warriors out there that are celebrating their pride and like coming out and who they are. And it's not even just the people in like the pride and the LGBTQ plus community. It's like people coming out in their most divine forms elsewise too, being more willing to use their voices and to stand up for what they believe in with the different movements that are happening right now, and just in an empowering way. It is causing a lot of division in different communities, but I have this quote that I kind of grew up with, and it was, sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to make it to the top. And it feels like the collective is hitting this weird bottom so we can like shoot and through this evolution and come out in a different form as a community and with more unity. And we are really seeing people's true colors.
Yeah, definitely. That's been a thing I've seen a lot, especially today, where the truth is coming out and coming to light, and we're seeing a clear picture of how everything really is, and not just us as part of this community, but the entire world. Where maybe in 2012 it was a lot of us were like, whoa, this is all happening. Like I was getting into certain conspiracy theories, and you know, it's kind of like now the mainstream media is waking up to a lot of things I did way back when, like in 2011, 2012, I watched a documentary about Monsanto and how really messed up it was what they were doing to the food. And nobody really knew or understood any of this except for the small niche community that I founded at. And now I have been seeing some posts about how some of Monsanto's products are banned in certain states and certain countries because of what they've been doing. And that's like a huge shift because Monsanto is such a huge corporation. And that's just like one of the shifts that's happening right now. We do have to go through a very awkward phase where a lot of us are really sensitive and people are being triggered left and right, and
everybody's so triggered. It's like, I'm honestly a little afraid of social media right now just because how easily everyone is being triggered by everything.
Yeah, and so this is like the first year that my family is not doing a picnic around the 4th of July.
There's many families that aren't celebrating that though. Yeah. It's kind of it's scary because I feel like it's because of this divisiveness again, and it's like splitting up not only communities but families. Yeah,
and you know, it's part of some weird phase that we have to go through where there's these topics and issues that haven't been addressed and have kind of just been pushed aside for a long time with all the families, and everything's coming out. I think, you know, it's the walls are breaking down, our structure's breaking down, everything is breaking down so it can be built back up in a more sustainable way. That's what I choose to believe in because that's the world I want to see. And I really do believe that where you put your focus and energy, that's what gets created.
It does feel like we're having some replays of different timelines though, because the Civil War also tore apart families for their beliefs, where even kind of with like the different movements like Black Lives Matter movement, in the Civil War there were families that brothers would fight on opposite sides of the war, and it was just, that's because people have their own free will and the ability to see things from whatever perspective they want to see things from, and we don't always agree on that, and it's becoming pretty powerfully clear the truth of what each person's perspective is, and a lot of other truths are coming out too, and I think it's amplifying what's called cancel culture, like where people that were big and admired for a long time are now being revealed as something that we didn't expect them to be. And not even like trying to call names or anything, just like even politicians and things like that. Like we know politicians are bad, but some of the stuff that's coming out and people aren't focusing on it because of all the other crazy chaos that's happening in the world. it's wild the amount of truth that is coming out.
Yeah. And I think it can be very distracting because of how much is coming out right now. And that's, another reason why having these programs to participate in or to host is really important, because we should not stop our individual progress. We should not stop our self-empowerment and be distracted by all the drama of Earth season 2020. And
what a crazy season.
It is a crazy season. So, it's you can be aware of these things, and you can you do what you need to in order to heal from them, or whatever you got to do. But also don't lose track of your main mission in making yourself a better version,
being the change you wish to see in the world. I think that's key in remembering that you can change your timeline with the power of your thought. You might not be able to change it for the collective, but you can, again, change your world, and it'll start to influence the world around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a big part of that is, I would say, balancing and cleansing your energy centers, which is part of a program that you are starting soon, right? Or
yeah, so mid-July, the signups are actually open. We have 2 potential release dates depending on when we can get all of the students together. So if you're interested in getting your emotions aligned, and it is part of the chakra program, we work through releasing fear and guilt and shame and processing grief, activating more confidence and love, and finding your own inner truth. And that may be mean different things for different people. And we also talk about different ways to work with your intuition and just kind of releasing expectation and attachment to what you thought life had to be. And that goes for like what people are telling you life has to be. I know that if I stay on social media for long periods of time and I start reading all the gloom and the just the sadness and the depressive, repetitive statuses, that it can really like program my brain into feeling heavy and like something is ending around me, when really it's this beginning. And with the program, we really focus on things that we've had happen to us as individuals. And then I hold space in a collective group call each week for people to check in and discuss things that come up for them in a safe way. And I also have tools that help with that. So personally, I work with oils and crystals and colors and art and music and things like that. So I've put together different kits that can help you find what works for you, because all of those things may not work for you. Maybe you work with yoga or animal energy or herbs or other things. So I have, even though those aren't things I specifically work with, I've worked with other people and done research to bring all of that together in one space. So if you're kind of just getting into this spiritual awakening and you're like, I am ready to change my life, that's what I'm doing. And it starts in July, around July 16th. But you can check it out now at shantasticshine.com and go to the 8-week chakra program under Work With Me.
Beautiful. I love that. So we're both hosting some programs, and my website is selomon.com, and you can find my current program there, some meditations I do, and also bringmetolife.com has our events and courses, as well as articles, music, all kinds of stuff.
Dude, bringmetolife.com has been starting to pop off. I have people that have been helping write articles. We've got album reviews. Mm-hmm. We just did a really cool live interview with Shayna Gladstone, which is also Sister Stone, about her music. A few other musician interviews coming out. Mm-hmm. And
we got some new merchandise in the shop that will help us to access and activate it 24/7 streaming for music.
We're working on 24-hour streaming, if not every day, like at least a couple days a week, so that you have lots of different content to check into. We're also going to be releasing some new podcasts. We don't want to give too much information on that because we're working on some branding for some new people. So they won't even be podcasts featuring us. They're featuring new people to the squad.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's, the network is growing, and we're excited to put out some some new perspectives and some diversity. I think that's going to be a huge point for a lot of organizations moving forward to have that.
Yeah, and we're also working on our Patreon. So we're going to be doing new moon ceremonies when we can. Starting in July, we have a new moon ceremony kind of plan, and you can watch for details on that. But our Patreon, we have super affordable tiers. And where Patreon is they're like micro donations where you just subscribe for like $3 to $5. And there's a couple other tiers each month. And you get exclusive content. So things that, you know, are maybe more sensitive that we don't want just everyone on the internet. We want people that actually care about the mission or care about what we're sharing to be able to receive something special for being an extra active supporter in the community. That's what Patreon's all about. And that's at patreon.com/PBM2L.
Yay. Cool. So a few more topics that I would like to jump into real quick is, you know, I'm really fascinated with space, and we've kind of seen a few documentaries in a movie that have really fascinated me about this topic.
I was getting ready to ask you about space. Silu has been on this kick about black holes, guys. He's obsessed with checking them out, but it's pretty neat. You want to talk about black holes for a second?
Yeah, because black holes are just so fascinating. They're the most powerful force in our universe that we know of. Scientists talk about how mysterious they are. And yeah, I'm really interested to know how they know when you get close to a black hole, time starts to slow down. Apparently, when you get into the black hole, you look out and you can see time passing you by, like hundreds of years and then seconds just passing you by.
How they know? How they know this?
How do they know this? I don't know. Apparently, also, if you start to go down into the middle of the black hole, you'll be stretched out like a big noodle. And I'm like, wow. If it's so mysterious, how do they know all this stuff? Who has done that to
Right, like where did they
it?
get the research and the feedback? Last night we were watching a movie that really blew my mind. So, spoiler, we're probably going to spoil this movie because it was crazy.
It's an older movie, though.
So, I think it was called Contact.
Yep.
So,
Jodie Foster.
Thought that movie was pretty freaking wild. First of all, there's a character that I hate because it's that typical character that doesn't want somebody to follow their dream, and it kind of just reminds me how important it is to follow the mission that you feel driven to activate, because somebody's got to be crazy enough to do it, and all the people that doubt you will later try to like say they thought of it or something crazy, and that's total things that happen in real life. But the movie itself was really powerful because she just follows through with that dream, and it was really empowering to see the experience that she gets to have.
Yeah, it's a very powerful experience. And just the fact that she was, able to not care of this guy who was trying to tell her if you continue to look for the signal, because her whole life she's trying to contact extraterrestrial life. Mm-hmm. And as she gets an adult, she becomes a scientist and gets funding to look for radio signals out in space. And eventually the guy that you're talking about defunds them and tells them they're wasting their time and they're going to ruin their careers.
Crazy.
And all this stuff. And they're like, well, whatever. So we're going to find private funding and we're going to do it somewhere else. So they did, and eventually found the signal. And, it's just so validated what her whole life was spent doing.
Yeah. And then basically at some point there's some space travel, and it is pretty wild because it is kind of portrayed similar to what you were saying. It's just like they get stretched around and thrown around, and it is what a lot of people feel like in their heads. But honestly, I feel like that happens in dreams sometimes. Like you're in a dream and then something happens and you get swished and whooshed around, and then you're out of the dream and you fall around and you're like, what? So it's pretty wild to think about black holes or timeline shifting in general. And I think the movie had a pretty wild ending. So I do suggest people checking it out because I feel like it explains a lot of things that happen in the real world. Like people think there's hoaxes, people have their opinions. There's a lot of craziness happening out there.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And as a little special gift for everybody listening right now, we have a song that features a line from that movie from our friend Spaceship Earth. And you all right to play the song and then we'll come back?
Yeah, I think it's pretty powerful. I didn't realize that his song from Contact was about the movie Contact. So I feel like I just had this crazy time portal. Let's listen to it.
Wait a minute, let me get this straight. You admit that you have absolutely no physical evidence to back up your story.
Yes.
You admit that you very well may have hallucinated this whole thing. You admit that if you were in our position, you would respond with exactly the same degree of incredulity and skepticism. Then why don't you simply withdraw your testimony and concede that this
Starseeds
journey, in fact, never took place?
Because I can't. I had an experience. I can't prove it. I can't even explain it. But everything that I know as a human being, everything that I am tells me that it was real. I was given something real, something that changed me forever. A vision of the universe that tells us undeniably how tiny, insignificant, and how rare and precious we all are. A vision that tells us that we belong to something that is greater than ourselves, that we are not, none of us are alone.
Starseeds. We are not, none of us are alone.
So what happens now?
We were seated here from various star nations. We were seated here from various
possible that our planet is one gigantic galactic experiment?
Whoa. That's a wild song, and now I know what it's from, and it just kind of blew my mind.
Yep.
It's got me thinking about, well, first it's got me thinking about star seeds, and there's probably so many people out there that don't know what star seeds are, but to me, it's those of us that have a deep connection to being somewhere else and feeling a part of something bigger than just Earth. Kind of connecting with star origins, galactic origins, but also like a sense of knowing we've done this before, like time travelers in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it very similarly where, the context that we're talking about it in, a lot of people who say that they're starseeds feel like they incarnated onto Earth to help it out at this point in time, but they incarnated from somewhere else in the universe. And I also see it in another perspective where, life, planets, they're all created from a dust of a star that explodes. So, that's how everything's created in a way. And that's,
Yeah, in a sense, we're all star seeds. We're all stardust.
Yeah.
But some of us activate and align with that mission and
yeah,
energy a little bit deeper.
Just a different context.
No, definitely. But it does make me think about time travel and like living multiple lives, because that's something I'm personally pretty interested in. And I keep seeing these things. I saw one the other day. It was a conspiracy, and it was like, the lack of amount of time travelers that have come back to save us from 2020 is making me believe that time travel never happened. And then somebody else came back with it and was like, well, maybe 2020 needed to happen to create enough chaos to make time traveling possible. And then I saw another one that was like, I think my theory this time is that time travel is real, and someone keeps trying to fix 2020, and by them trying to change something every time they do, they're unwillingly making it worse. Because how else do we explain the difference, or the disappearance of the murder hornets, or the disappearance of certain things, or how fast things are changing?
Are gone.
Yeah, supposedly that was just like a thing that lasted like a week. Everybody was worried about murder hornets, and now they're gone. And like, like the different things where like one time a mask is good and the next time it's not. And it's like maybe they changed the virus in some way so that it's less, I don't know. It's just, man, time travel. It's got my mind a little blown right now.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing, because it's like you can't change your past, but then we're like, wait a second, time isn't just linear, which we have thought and kind of developed our mind around that concept that time is linear, but in reality, even in this reality, this physical reality, it's not.
It's true. It's just like people perceive time in such a different way. What's like what could be a long time to me could feel really short to you. Like some days you'll come home from work and be like, it went so fast, and I'll be like, man, I felt like it lasted forever. So it just like shows how time travel works in even like a waking life perspective. It's pretty crazy. And it is interesting to think that that's possible, that people are trying to shift things, and that's what's happened and caused chaos through different realities and mandala effects. And man, we could talk on that for a while.
Come on, McFly, learn your lesson already.
But so I'm kind of curious, if you thought there was something that could help heal the world right now, what do you think it would be?
If anything could help heal the world, I really believe that it would just be understanding we're all different and trying to have compassion and understanding for where people are coming from, even if you disagree, even if it might be like something hateful. We don't have to go down those roads with people. We don't have to change them. We just have to hold compassion and understanding within ourselves, and do our best to create our realities in a way that is equal and fair and compassionate for everyone.
Definitely. I vibe with that. I think in like a non-spiritual bypassing kind of way, I'm still like that hippie kid at heart that is forever just like, love's the answer. Like, I feel like we could like, if we could just unconditionally love each other. And I feel like that would be such a freeing feeling for the global self-destruction that's kind of happening right now. And I get that there's like so much work to be done for that belief to be processed collectively, but I honestly can't think of anyone who truly doesn't just want love in the end. Like, I work with a lot of different people, and one of the things I ask my clients is like, what do you want from life? And when I first started what I do, I used to think everybody's mission was joy. And I had several clients be like, no, you know, contentment is fine with me. I just want to be seen and witnessed. And that made me really realize that unconditional love is like a major part of the answer, because people aren't always looking for joy. They're not always looking for fun, but they are looking for love. I can't think, like, even people that are really dark and have a lot of kind of weird tendencies or something, they still want to be loved for their darkness. So honestly, if we could find ways to witness people before the darkness overcomes them, I think would be a big healing factor for a lot of things in the world. And just sending a little love out in all directions. Like, who doesn't want to be seen for what brings them joy? You know? So I think that's something that we could all do to get through this wild life shift that's hitting us all. Because I know so many people they're losing loved ones, they're losing homes, there's a lot of loss happening. I mean, there's a lot of winning, there's a lot of transmutation, there's a lot of wins, and people upgrading their life too in the same sense. But I know that I've just been witnessing a lot of people going through loss and heartache, and there could be a lot more love being spread in the world. So I think that if we could release the restrictions and expectations of that love and just love unconditionally, that would be really good. I know there's a lot of people throwing opinions out. Like earlier we mentioned how it's breaking up families and communities. And one of our favorite musicians, Jason Mraz, just released an album, and one of his songs is called You'll Do You and I'll Do Me. And it's like, together we'll make,
and I'll do me,
and together we'll make harmony. We'll make the world go round, round, something like that. So you should check out his new album. It's like, I think it's called Look for the Good.
Yeah, look for the good.
And we don't want to mess with copyrights, but we can shout him out and give him lots of love, because I think he's got a beautiful message. And I know there's a lot of different bigger musicians that it's hard to know what they really stand for, but Jason Mraz has impressed me time and time again with his messages. So
yeah, and you know, you do me, I do me, together we'll create harmony, coming together. And we need to come together so that, you know, the extraterrestrials that we all know are out there are, you know, feel safe and able to make their presence known, so that we can begin to integrate into the solar systems community.
Right. Like, if we could just love one another, imagine what other high-tech beings want to come and communicate with us, but they're just like looking at us. Like you said earlier, like, man, season 2020 of Earth is crazy. Why would we want to communicate with those beings? They can't even love each other. How would they respect us? Like, we got to learn to respect and love one another, people, and just evolve. I hope y'all are evolving out there.
I love that.
Do you have any other messages channeling through you today, or do you think you've shared enough?
I just want that to be the ending.
Okay.
What you said.
It's time to evolve. I hope you guys are staying awake and shining on.
For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning, and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.